Hello, and welcome to Media Day for the fourth season of World Super Touring, and that means it's drawn cam time once again. And kind of looking forward to this one actually because there's going to be a slight change to the lineup of drivers, well, manufacturers, more of a change to the midfield and rear of the pack competitors. I don't think there's too much of a change at the front of the field. And operating the drone, much like the previous time we did this. Alongside me is Michael Swinnerton. Hello.
Hello, yeah, they've given me a big RC controller that I think I understand how to use it.
Now, before we go into the runners and riders, we are going to do that backwards, but we'll have the privateers first, then reverse order numbers of the manufacturers. Let's have a quick glimpse at the calendar as it pans out there. Not really much of a change there. We start off at Interlagos, much of a muchness there, no change there. We head to Bathurst. I don't think there's too much of a change there. I
Well, in
feel
as
it's a little
much
bit
as
earlier.
Bathurst is normally in the middle of the season, but they've
That's what I was
decided
thinking.
to help
Yeah,
help themselves with the Southern Hemisphere, and they've put it as round 2 rather than round
yeah.
6, 7.
And there is a reason for that. We'll explain in another video why that happened. Then we go on the European tour of the championship. Dragon Trail Gardens. We've been there before. We know how that pans out. I think that's going to be a double header with the Euros because it was a very popular venue for both of those events. So I think that's become a double header. Much like Maggio West was the most successful of double headers, that's going to happen again for round 4. And then we go to Barcelona without its chicane, which means that's going to be the full layout for a change
Yes.
for round 5. No detour of section 1 of the F1 circuit. We're going to be doing the full F1 circuit without having to do any damage to suspension over the curbs of death. Then we go to the A1 ring, the Red Bull ring, written down here as A1 ring for the lols, I guess. And then we go to Laguna Seca. We weren't there
We've never been
last
there.
time. I'm trying to work out. I know we did Blue Moon,
Blue Moon and Watkins
Watkins Glen,
Glen have been
Watkins Glen.
the
Yeah,
American rounds so far in all 3 seasons. So Laguna Seca is a new scouting expedition into the United States for the World Series here. We'll see how that
which
one pans out.
splits.
Considering it's a very tight, twisty circuit, I'm expecting
Yeah.
rear-wheel drive victories around there, but remains to
In
be seen.
fairness, I think that's more of a touring car circuit than the other two venues we visited. The Glen was great, it's fun to watch, but I don't think those are the right cars to go around that version of the circuit.
Yes, no, I don't know. The
Uh,
thing is, the American motorsport scene is so stock car and sports car orientated with a good healthy amount of open wheel in there
yeah,
is that they don't really know what to make of super touring because they've got stock cars instead. So
yeah.
it's they get to see the flip side of a different coin there. So it's interesting. I like the fact that we shop around the American venues just to bring
Yeah.
this form of racing and this discipline of motorsport to as many different eyes as possible over there. So I'm kind of hoping that in the in seasons to come we go somewhere else. We've got there's Road America, there's the Grand Valley course out in California, there's Road Atlanta down in Georgia. There's other options there for sure.
That's perhaps discussion for another championship, let alone the Worlds. We'll have to
There
see what
has
happens
been
there.
talks of a domestic American series
That's really worth
utilizing
looking forward
some of
to.
these rules and some new ones, but that's been very vague rumblings, and I wouldn't put too much stock into it just yet.
But Laguna is the sort of spoke in the European season because that we return for round 8 to Deep Forest. Another early start there. It somehow doesn't make sense and makes sense at the exact same time doing the early runs around DJ Deep Forest there. And then we go to the Nürburgring Sprint for another of the double headers. The Branch Hatch GP becomes round 10. there's still mutterings that because of how close the European final and round 10 at Brands Hatch is, that should be a double header as well. But we'll wait and see, even though we might not see it on the coverage this season. And then Fuji again for the final, much like it was for season 3. So apart from Laguna, we've got a very consistent base to work on there for the World's Championship, and long may it run.
Yes, they definitely know what works. It's nice being able to come back to the same tracks. It kind of feels like home. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with Barcelona, considering we're using the Grand Prix loop with no chicane, and that chicane, as frustrating as it can be if you're a driver, has provided some very entertaining racing for us, watching them all hop over those curbs. So it'll be interesting to see what they do and how they manage with the long sweepers instead. Fuji is a confirmed double header with the Japanese series, so both
Of course,
championships will be finishing at the same time there. So that's going to be a busy weekend for everybody involved. But otherwise, yeah, Laguna Seca is going to be interesting because that's a new venue for us. Bathurst being so much earlier in the season means the track will be it'll be a completely different temperature to what we're used to. So that might throw in a cog in the works, as it were.
we
But
shall
otherwise,
wait and see.
yeah,
Now then, we know where we're going. Now let's see who goes with us. We'll start at the back, and we'll start
with a brand new
with
team.
not only a brand new team, but a regular uh, 6 wins under his belt in the Euros. Title decided there. Marco Kubica has got a BMW seat in the Worlds. Perhaps not the seat we expected, but when you have got two very successful drivers in the works team, where can you put the defending European champion? Did he want to have another season in the Euros? Maybe, but a lot of heavyweight Polish backing as well on that privateer BMW. And it's been a while since we've been lacking in any privateer BMW in season 3. The DHL team switched allegiances to Alpha, of course, and therefore it's a welcome return to the privateer fold for BMW. And I'd like to think we've got a race winner in this car. It just depends how good that car is going to be.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? So Kubica is also confirmed to be doing a second season with the factory BMW effort in the Euros. He's going to stay and defend his title, so he is double dipping both championships here.
Ah,
This team has basically been set up. I mean, this team wanted to come racing in the World Supers anyways, but BMW were looking for an outfit to go, hey, can we put your driver in your car, our driver in your car, please? And seeing as this team has had a lot of experience running one series coupes, I believe, in slightly more club events up and down the UK and some in Europe as well, they were looking to expand, and as fortune would have it, and here we are with this brand new team. So there's a lot of talented people here who don't necessarily have the experience to run a team on the world scale, but we know how quick this M4 is as a package, given
yeah.
how it just destroyed the championship last year. So, and we know how quick Kubica is. So if they can learn quickly, they could definitely be a threat for privateer title at the very least.
And we have seen PKP doing the 6 hours, the 24 hours around this very venue. Whether that means it'll be a good omen for them heading into the sprint round venue, the sprint circuit round towards the end of the year. We shall wait and see. Not the only single car outfit, but we haven't got there yet
No.
because whilst number 18 is Kubica's, we're now going to look at number 17, and that's your 3M team. The same livery as you'll no doubt see, and another alumni of the inaugural European Championship from Renault. Here is Henri Bianchi.
Yes, so he is joining Kubica as one of the other graduates from the European Series this year. He will be racing for Rookie of the Year honours with Marco. Joining experienced teammate Stuart Wickens, who's been with that team since its get-go, so this will be his 4th year in that car. They definitely know what they're doing with it, but they're they have their ups and downs, so we'll see what they do with this thing. Wickens, the pressure will definitely be on Stewart here, because if Henri just shows up and starts beating him, that's going to be a bit of a death sentence.
The tables will have turned from his um, assertion of dominance over the departing Camish in that 3M team.
Yeah, he's still essentially the number one driver at the team, but as I say, he's seen off one teammate, he's now got to see off another. And Bianchi has shown consistent pace in that Renault in the Euros last year. He didn't really, he didn't necessarily destroy the competition by race wins and what have you, unlike Kubica there. But he did put together a very good season in that Renault, and I believe he's still staying at Renault. So Renault have sort of loaned him out and are okay with him racing a Ford because it's a privateer outfit, not a factory outfit.
So compared to Kubica's 6 wins in the Euros, Bianchi did get one in, unlike his teammate Capelli, who got two in the brighter coloured, more road-going version of the Megane for that particular championship. And now on we go to a second year for the DHL
See,
outfit in
I
that
Zubanded
Alpha.
that. I turned the wrong way. But yes, here is this.
You
This
sure you
team
can
has
handle it?
basically remained unchanged. They've still got the same title sponsor. They've still got the same driver. They haven't really lost or gained any different personnel behind the pit wall. They put together a decent season last year. There was some ups, some downs. So I think they'll be looking to work on consistency this year.
It's going
And
to be hard to predict, really. We kind of assume. I mean, it's going to be a roll of quite literally, there's 6 of them. So it is going to be down to the roll of the dice who actually wins the privateer outfit this time by. Especially if your good team are no longer running as a privateer outfit in this championship, Swinny.
yeah, absolutely. The thing they've got to be careful of, and this is the thing that all the privateer teams have to be careful of, is it was somewhat easier to score points as a privateer because we had a couple of factory efforts struggling, really, really hardcore struggling. So that gained us a couple of extra points. If that is the case this year, then fine. It will be the same level of difficulty for the privateers to get points. But if one of those struggling teams is up and gone in Toyota, Renault was the other one. If Renault have managed to work something out in the off season with that Megane, and if the new Volvo cars are quick enough to keep up with the factory effort, then realistically, there's 1 point on offer for 6 cars to fight over. If factory cars take up the top 14 spots, then it's going to be very, very difficult, and there's going to be lots of nil point finishes for a lot
The
of these
fight over
drivers.
the fight over the bun, it shall be. Now you still see the 3Ms in the background with one change to their driver lineup. And next, not only have the Tamiya team been given an upgrade to their Hondas, but the driver lineup remains completely unchanged. You
Yep.
got Kobayashi there, race winner last year, and experienced Felix Rydell. Um, as far as the double driver lineup, I think these are more likely to be the favourites. It just depends how well Dumar does um, compared to these two.
Yeah, I mean, we know this Honda is also just like that M4. This is a good platform. This is a good package. And now that the Tamiya team have been given this upgrade by Honda, um, it'll be interesting to see if they can maintain this advantage that they've, in theory, been given, or whether one of the other teams manages to nick those points out from underneath them.
Now, you probably did notice them already with the drone cam hovering around these Tamiyas. Gone are Toyota, in come Volvo. And boy, do
Here
they
they
look the
are.
part.
Yeah, complete in the classic yellow and blue that we're used to seeing a lot of Volvos in. This new V40 has a very, very distinctive noise. You will hear this car in amongst the crowd here because it's very, very high pitched. So I'll take you through the drivers. So they have recruited from the homeland of Sweden, Kenny Ekström. So this is one of the other rookies fighting for honours this year. Brand new works team, brand new driver. There's a lot of newness going on here. We'll see if he can deliver on that. And then
He's brought some of his engineers over from the Swedish Touring Car Championship, so that'll be decent groundwork for them to get results out of this car. And alongside him is your protege
yeah, this is where
from
he's
the
landed.
Mazda.
So I hinted that he got himself a decent deal for this year at the end of last year, and I wasn't wrong because he has signed on a contract with Volvo. They did approach him saying, "Hey, we really like what you're doing. You're good in front-wheel drive machinery. You have proven yourself to be consistent enough. You're exactly what we need to lead this charge." So they've got Ekstrom as the raw talent, as it were. Not to disparage Ingram's own talent, but Ingram is here as the safe pair of hands, as it were. So they'll both be looking to score points as much as possible from the get-go. And Volvo's biggest challenge this year, as they are the new factory team, is that's their opposition, and this is who they need to beat. If they end up finishing behind a privateer outfit, that's really not going to look good for these cars. Now, granted, they are new, and I may or may not be aware that there's some slight hiccups with the car that have been proven in testing, so they have got some work to do here. And it is their first year. They can spend the first year sort of just learning the car and the tracks and the layouts and everything. But their goal absolutely is what's in front of them and not what's behind them.
Do you see them doing that?
Potentially, I think they're going to be... I mean, they are front-wheel drive cars. So there's going to be a few rounds where I think, because the tracks themselves favour rear-wheel drive equipment, and we've seen that be the case with places like Deep Forest. It's nearly always been a rear-wheel drive car that wins at that track, so that's going to be damage limitation as a front-wheel drive car. But then they can maximise that. They've got the flip side of that with things like the Red Bull Ring. We saw how well Volkswagen did around the Red Bull Ring last year, so I think it's very much a case of the smart play is picking and choosing the battles.
And speaking of picking and choosing the battles, that's going to be a big ask of the Renault team that totally underperformed last season. Looks can be deceiving. They do look like the exact same cars. But where do we see them this time by, Swinny?
Well, I don't know. They are the exact same cars. We know what... I mean, we could see quite clearly what was wrong with these cars. They had a complete lack of mid-corner stability, which was really screwing up their lap times. I know Aiello and Gasho have been, and the rest of the team have been completely tirelessly testing this thing, trying different setups, testing it again, throwing the whole setup away and trying a new thing, completely rebuilding the car and then trying something new. So they have thrown everything at this car, hoping it's going to work. And we shall have to wait and see on that. Also, we've something else I'm going to point out, which is quite amusing to me. We've got the battle of the yellow and blue going on here.
That's going to be hard work if we are a bit short-sighted, and if the cameras are going to be playing up, we won't.
Or if
It's
we get
going to
this kind of
be,
sun glare again, look at that.
yeah. Obviously we know the difference there and then, but at 100 mile an hour, will we get them mixed up?
Well, as I said, you
Goodyear
can
are going
hear
to
the
be
Volvos, so that's,
yeah. That's going to be a difference. Goodyear are providing the tyre. It is a completely new tyre, they say, compared to the previous season. That might be the game changer that Renault were looking for, perhaps, because that might mean it's a level or a more level playing field than it was last season by. Into the top 10 we go. And that means we're looking at the Fords next, and their lineup hasn't changed either. I mean, the Gasho Aiello partnership at Renault, Hugh, Palou, and Salo for another swing of the Ford Axe in the Focus. I don't think this has changed either, but
Nope.
that's depends on the internals of the car as well, and with a consistent driver lineup, wins. But the wins did come. I mean, granted, everyone at least had one or two wins of the top 12, shall we say, Toyota included, even if they're no longer there. But where do we see these guys this time by? Because it looks like nothing's really changed.
Yeah, I mean, I know they've also like obviously everyone's done their own off-season testing and what have you. Ford have constantly struggled with being the midfield team, where they've had flashes of speed being up the top end, and then they've had flashes of suck, where they've been unable to put anything together and had nil point finishes. So I think again, consistency is what Ford needs. They need to get a handle on the car, get it handling in a way where it stays in the same position over multiple rounds. And even if that position is, anywhere between 8th and 12th, that's fine because that's still consistent points finishes. And I think that is what's missing from this team currently is the late season surge where Solo got that win at Brands Hatch and Pelot did the lights to flag at Fuji. Very, very good. But you compare that with their performances at like Dragon Trail or Interlagos or
Yeah.
Deep Forest, where they were just nowhere. They weren't even on TV. They weren't in the camera shots at all. So that is where I think they need to be working on for these cars.
And as far as performance goes, there is a level of symmetry with the next team we'll see in Volkswagen. Same again, unchanged driver lineup. The livery, it doesn't look like that's changed too much either. Performance-wise, I mean, perhaps one of the more powerful engines on the grid. We saw how quick it was at the final round of Fuji down that long straight. Um, Wirtz and Suarez for a third throw of the dice.
Yeah, it really is rinse and repeat for Volkswagen, just like Ford. Too many races where they were just completely at the back out of the points. Barcelona comes to mind, where they were struggling to keep up with the privateers. And then they had absolute displays of dominance, like at the Red Bull Ring. So again, they just need to work on their consistency, just like Ford.
And so, as far as these three teams are concerned, no change in the driver lineup. Now, let's see what happened at Honda. It's the same lineup. Lammers with a very good rookie season. A top five drivers finished for both. Thompson was fourth. Lammers was fifth overall. That stood them in good stead for the constructors, which is why they got the fifth, 5 and 6 numbers on their car. Um, the top, well, the wins have been a tough nut to crack, but they did get them. Um, it's it's still rinse and repeat here by the looks of it. Maybe you can
I
give us a bit more insight into that
Yeah,
first one.
I would say Honda's main goal for this year is turn their qualifying pace into race pace. There were several rounds last year where Thompson was on pole or on the front row, or Lammers was on the front row, or there or thereabouts. They always qualified top five for most of the season last year. They qualified top five. They would then get mugged on the start because rear-wheel drive cars, and then they would just slowly fall backwards over the course of the year, over the course of the race, even with only that Bathurst win proving any different. So Honda's big challenge this year, as the way I see it, is you've got the speed in the car. You've proved that with the amount of pole positions you can get. Now transfer those into race wins.
And off the back of our last broadcast, which was Fuji, the only Japanese presence in the championship. No Toyota, no privateer Mazda, or
Yeah.
any other factory effort, or even any Japanese driver in the field. I think the double header
Well, apart from
will
Kobayashi.
help. Uh, Kobayashi, apologies, the Tamiya Honda being the
There's no
third and
Japanese works
fourth of the
driver,
Hondas.
yes, but yeah, there is still
Yeah,
a Japanese driver at the back
I do
there.
apologise. I completely overlooked that. But that's been spread a little bit thin. But like I said, the double header should help bring the finale a logical conclusion. I think had there been no input at all from Japan, maybe the race wouldn't happen at Fuji. But thankfully, that does go ahead. Um, and Honda, Volkswagen, Ford, and any of the teams now have to basically climb the wall of rear-wheel drive, which is in the next two teams. And
Yeah.
once again, it remains unchanged except for the numbers on the car. Fisichella with the number 3, Sabine Wittmann with the number 4, and they have got something to aim for now, rather than something to defend.
Yes. This is very much the same situation as this time last season. Only the Alfa Romeos and the BMWs are swapped over, but it does mean that these two rear-wheel drive teams are occupying the top 4 spots here. That's going to be the challenge for all the front-wheel drive teams. And in Alfa Romeo's case, I really hope they've worked out their problems. I mean, they did come alive a little bit in the second half of the season. Fisichella put together a really good, consistent year last year, which is what netted him third in the driver's title. But if we can see Wittmann fire off out the gate from the get-go, she could be a danger to get her second championship title here. As long as she doesn't, or that team doesn't make a mess of the first half of the season and keeps that momentum going throughout the second half, we know this Alfa Romeo can do it. They just need to go and do it again. But yes, now we shall move on to the top step here with the same driver lineup again.
Apologies, I just what went wrong then. Yeah, so it's going to be momentum, shall we say. Start of season 2, BMW looked to be um, on its deathbed, uh, for want of a better expression. But then the consistency became a bit more useful to them, and that put them into season 3 all guns blazing, and that's how Webber ended up winning the championship through consistency more than anything. The wins, like I said, no one really ran away with it like Kubica did in the Euros. It just needs something bad to happen, and I doubt that is going to happen for, well, any of the top 10. If if the news is that this is what they are bringing to the table, um, we'll just have to wait and see. I can't really see if the momentum is still there. BMW have got this in the bag from race 1, but obviously we haven't seen what's going to happen yet, and cannot wait to see that happen. What do you reckon, Sweeney?
Yeah, absolutely. BMW proved that consistency is key, and I know we're talking about it a lot currently, but it cannot stress enough just how crucial it is. You can go and win races to your heart's content, but if you have as many wins as non-points finishes, then it's basically for naught, that effort, compared to the person that keeps finishing fourth every single time. And BMW
So
just proved it so much last
yeah,
season.
if we had to say like who is going to, I couldn't actually put a name down, but if it had to be like gun to the head, it would have to be Weber. But there's going to be some surprises. I wonder if Volvo are going to be um, up there immediately. If so, great. I think that's going to be um, Ingram to do it over Ekstrom, but that can't be discounted either. As for the privateers, it is going to be, there's a 1 in 6 chance that it could be any of them, basically. So I'm assuming. Well, what do you reckon, Sonny? What names would you put down for the win in each of the tiers?
Constructors, I still think the upper hand is with the rear-wheel drive cars. If Alfa Romeo can sort themselves out ahead of time, I think Whitman is definitely the challenger. I think Schneider is just a little doesn't quite have as much consistency as Webber, so I think Webber will lead the charge for BMW still. It wouldn't surprise me if we saw Wittmann versus Webber for title honours. But I'm willing to be surprised. I'm willing to see a Honda or a Renault or something just show up out of nowhere and suddenly prove that they've actually got the speed and the pace to take it to the front of the grid there. As for the privateers, I'd like to see the Tamiya team really, run with that new car and make the most of it. And it'd be very interesting to see what this new team can do with Kubica behind the wheel. And just like Volvo, it's going to be a case of how quick can they learn, how quickly can they overcome that learning curve and get to grips with the car, with the race formats, with everything that the World Super Touring Championship has to challenge teams and drivers.
So before the battery runs out in the drone cam, we better say we're going to be on a plane. We're going to be going to Japan for that media day as soon as possible. Cannot wait to see what liveries, what cars we're going to see there. But for the
Absolutely.
time being, one
Expect a lot of red and white was all I'm going to say
red
because
and white.
Japan.
And on behalf of Michael Swinnerton, media day will forge ahead with another hours worth of testing for the cars on the same piece of track, the sprint layout, which we'll see towards the end of the year. And we'll see you in Japan. Good racing, everyone. Sayonara.